Tron will fail. Now, if you've seen my other video on Tron, you know that I talked about, the positives of Tron, why I liked it. So why in the world would I be saying Tron will fail? Well, there's some significant problems with Tron, and it's what makes it risky. Now, with this being said, please understand that I am an investor in the Tron network and in Tron and the TRX. Well, put it this way, I'm looking to be an investor. I'm waiting for a good entry point at this to buy it right now. However, there are concerns. Some people thought when they saw my last video that somehow I just love the project and I'm super passionate about it and I didn't have any questions or concerns. Listen, anything in cryptocurrency, there's plenty of questions and concerns, even with Bitcoin itself. And the reason I'm covering this right now specifically, and I've created a whole video because I'm going to do another video on what else concerns me about Tron, however, or some other concerns that I have. However, please understand something. What is highlighted in this article, in some ways, is potentially the greatest threat to cryptocurrency being used for the sole purposes that it should be used for, and that is decentralization at its core, with very little, if any, manipulation from a centralized authority. So I want to read this article to you, and then I'll comment on it. This article is on Tron Spark, which is a news website for Tron specifically. Are Tron rewards going to zero? Let me explain what rewards are first to give some context if you don't know. So on the Tron network, it's a delegated, they're super representatives. They're like delegated nodes. I forget the term, it escapes me at this moment. But basically, you can vote in these delegated nodes and they earn rewards for being voted in. And oftentimes, by the way, they use those rewards. They don't keep them. Oftentimes, they pay out the rewards back to those people who voted. And quite honestly, it's in its current state, it's pretty interesting. I mean, you can earn a sizable percent, like 6% a month, just for voting for certain super representatives. And I may cover that in an upcoming video. If you want me to, just put a comment down below, and I'll cover that in more detail. But are Tron rewards going to zero? Now, if you haven't seen my previous video, I just want to give this caveat. There are things, I do like Tron, and I like a lot of things about it. I'll put a card up in the right-hand corner. If you did not see my last video, you can go ahead and watch that now on why I think Tron will make you rich. Either way, you can say, hey, wealth, what are you saying? Is it going to make you rich? Is it going to make you broke? It's risky. Cryptocurrency is risky. If the reason that it can make you rich is because it's trading below 2 cents right now, and the reason it's trading below 2 cents is simply because there's a lot of risk. The reason it's number 10 on the market cap, coin market cap, is because there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of kinks that still have to get figured out. But if they figure out the kinks and they've made a lot of headway, and if they figure out those kinks, then it could be extraordinary potentially. I mean, extremely lucrative in the long run potentially. Or it could all go to zero. So let's get back to this article. Are Tron rewards going to zero? Tron rewards have been the talk of the town the last few weeks. Up to this point, in the Tron super representative elections, everyone believed in the decentralization fairy godmother. Unfortunately, the alarm sounded in vigorous fashion on November 9th. On that day, I woke up in the morning to see Tron Spark drop a good 10 slots to number 22 on the list. I thought to myself, what in the world is going on? There were 9 or 10 super representatives who got an additional 30 to 50 million votes all at the same time. Coincidentally, all these votes were coming from several big wallets. I always knew that this would happen at some point, but I never thought it would happen so soon, not when TRX is at 2 cents. Before I go any further, I want to tell my readers that this is probably the most important article I will ever write for Tron Spark. Also, I'm not writing this Tron Spark in mind. I am writing this because it is what I firmly believe. But don't get me wrong, I am also guilty of playing along with everyone else and pretending that everything is fine and dandy. It is not. The last few weeks have assured me that serious discussions need to take place in order for Tron to evolve and mature. As a long-term Tron investor and a believer in decentralization, I know that the only way to improve the flaws in a decentralized system is getting the community involved. On the other hand, the ones benefiting from this current layout will not be jumping in joy. Give the writer credit for this. The numbers don't lie. From an investment perspective, it is a no-brainer. With $2.7 million, you can place yourself as a Tron representative and get paid rewards. We can easily call that buying your super representative position. Is that fair to say? SRs in the bottom range are getting around 42,000 Tron daily. That's 15.2 million yearly. So you put in $2.7 million, you get back $291 at 19 cents or 1.9 cent per Tron. Not a bad deal. In fact, it's one of the best deals out there. The response I usually get is that the community will vote them out. Really? Tell me how. I would like to hit that little red button. Now the counter argument for that is what? The response I usually get. The next thing that is said is that the community can vote others in. Yes, that is true. Unfortunately, only 10% of the circulating supply is being used to vote. So swinging that many votes is almost impossible. To give an example, in order to outvote the number 5 super representative, you would need 690 million votes spread out over the next 22 super representatives. That's never going to happen. One thing is for sure, the more votes, the harder it is for the system to be gained as the price of entry becomes large. So go out and vote, and don't forget to get every Tron owner you know to do the same. Have them vote for their favorite super representative. Truth in the numbers don't lie. Okay. The race to zero rewards. People are not seeing the big picture. So what if Crypto Girls and Teamtronics get knocked out? Crypto Girls and Teamtronics are pioneers in helping the Tron community. We all know that. Do they deserve to be a super representative more than the rich guy who has never even traded crypto? I think so. But what do I know? I guarantee you that many more community super representatives will be knocked out sooner or later if something isn't done. This is set in stone based purely on math and human behavior. If the rules are created to favor the wealthy will prevail. That is not what I had in mind when I bought into the decentralized internet. Sorry, but that's the truth. So what can the community of super representatives do to stay in the game to fight another day? Well, they can raise rewards to 100%. Guys, do you think that is sustainable? Of course not. That's just a temporary fix to do exactly what I stated. Just fight another day. Let me pause right here. When he says raise rewards 100%, when I told you that you could earn money basically in the form of Tron, passive Tron, every single month, you actually earn every single day for voting. And again, I can cover that in another video. But when you vote, the super representative that you voted for, most of them give some of their rewards back. They can give back 10%, 50% or more. So what he's saying here is if the super representatives give back 100%, then maybe they can keep the votes. But how many of them are going to keep doing what they do for free? And I can tell you temporarily some super representatives will pay back 110%, which means they're actually paying for the votes, meaning they're not getting anything. They're not getting any compensation for further development. So that's what he's saying. That's just a temporary fix to do exactly what I stated. Just fight another day. But that is a losing proposition to 100% certainty. Servers need to be paid. Tron meets need to be funded, and projects need capital. So while 8 of the top 10 super representatives gives 100% rewards or more, their operations are hindered. At the end of the day, the way things are going, the super representatives will be made up of nothing but hungry whales. What rewards will you be getting? Don't hold your breath. At the end of the day, the canary in the coal mine. Crypto Girls has fallen. Teamtronics is fighting for dear life, trying to make voters realize the importance of community-driven projects. Other super representatives are now pondering what to do in order to stay in the game, but at the same time have enough funds to pay for servers. Some are even asking themselves, is it worth paying to work? Would you pay to work? Probably not. Well, this is where we are right now. We all like to give back to the community and be a part of building something big. You all know I love dropping TRX on Guild Chat, but at any moment the whales can step in and take that all away. Imagine if instead of increasing 50 million votes, they increased 200 million votes. See you later, alligator. And that is what a Tron price of 1.9 cents. What do you think will happen when Tron is at 10 cents? We'll be a bunch of sardines meeting our predetermined fate. Can voters help out? Sure they can. The more votes are placed, the harder it is to manipulate the system. Tron voting is the one thing that intrigues me. Why is only 10% of the Tron circulating supply voting? EOS is close to 40%. This is something that the Tron community needs to get serious about in order to improve the health of the system. Tell your friends to vote. Voting is the key for the success of a decentralized platform like Tron. Ideas for change. This is one of the most fascinating parts of this entire article. Tron wants to rival large companies like Facebook, Google, and Apple. Well, each of these companies is worth at least $400 billion per market cap. Apple is close to $1 trillion. With only $125 million, they can buy all 27 super representative positions. Do you see a problem with this? There needs to be another thing in place to prevent things like this from happening. So what can be done? That is a question that really needs a lot of discussion here. Here are a few things that the community members have mentioned. Now, I want to talk about this for a moment. The super representative positions basically control the direction of Tron. So if a large company, Justin Sun claims that Tron, the whole goal is to rival large companies and keep them decentralized. Like imagine having a social media outlet on the blockchain, a decentralized public blockchain. Imagine having a search engine. Imagine having the storage capacity of places like Apple and the iCloud. Imagine if all that could exist on a decentralized blockchain. They're saying that is the vision. But if that's the vision, if Facebook, Google, or Apple saw that Tron was on its way to actually being competitive in that space, or that was the direction of the market, what the large giants would do is just simply they could just buy up the 27 super representative positions and essentially, for all intents and purposes, centralize and take over something that is supposed to be decentralized. And that's what he's saying when he says, do you see a problem with this? Now, one thing that's important to note here is, he talks about, Tron should not favor the wealthy. First of all, I would change this to say that the purpose in decentralization is not to keep everyone equal. Decentralization at its core is not socialism or communism. It is not a utopia where all, has so much and nobody has more than the other. Decentralization fairly rewards production to the ecosystem. That is my understanding of it. However, you've got to be careful in most systems that we currently have in society, even in some blockchain technology. People are obsessed with the wealthy. The wealthy are getting more, blah, blah, blah. I don't care what the wealthy get as long as they give back as much as they're getting. I don't care, for example, that Sam Walton started Walmart and became one of the largest retailers in the world. I don't care that Jeff Bezos has created Amazon and has become one of the most wealthiest people in the world per se. It doesn't mean that I have concerns about some of his business practices, but I don't care how wealthy he got at all. The only time I care is when companies like Walmart, who initially benefited from a free market society or close to a free market society, only to become powerful enough that they could stop lobbying Congress to prevent competitors from entering the space. Same thing with Amazon. When Amazon can use their vast wealth to give themselves unfair advantages, that's what I have a problem with. And blockchain is supposed to help eliminate the unfair advantage for the top producers. I don't care that there's powerful super representatives that are potentially getting wealthy on the system. And I don't care that someone with a lot of wealth necessarily comes in. But where do you prevent the person from the wealth coming in and contributing nothing to the ecosystem and only continuing to earn from the ecosystem because he quote unquote bought in a position? And the challenge with this is, and this is part of the problem with decentralization, when people throw out ideas, when you have the masses throw out ideas, oftentimes ideas sound good in principle, but in practice, it's another problem. And this author does a great job of explaining this. So here are a few things that the community members have mentioned. Impose a system where there is an option to remove a super representative based on either super representative votes or popular votes, all votes in the community. The author's take on this is this can also be easily manipulated to the opposite effect. For example, a few whales can vote on a super representative out as they control most votes. So I'm not too keen on this idea. Limit how many votes a wallet can cast. My take. This just creates work for the person trying to game the system. They'll have to sit down once, wash their tokens through an exchange, and deposit them in a bunch of different wallets. At least they have to do something, but for money, some people do whatever it takes. Make elections less frequent, let's say once a week or once a month. My take, I don't see this solving much, may even instill complacency. Impose more stringent requirements to be a super representative. My take, This I definitely agree with. I think super representatives should get together and make requirements for candidates. A candidate needs to be ready to produce blocks and have certain community requirements in place to represent the community. After all, that's the whole point of a delegated proof of stake system. Now, let me give my take on this. I think this is the best solution presented. The challenge with this is when a candidate needs to be ready to produce blocks, yes, and have certain community requirements. Okay, who determines these community requirements as being sufficient enough? The bottom line is you need to have minimum requirements, and those who are far exceeding the minimums can still complain. But yes, maybe you should have certain minimum requirements in place. Okay, you don't have to agree with these ideas nor with my take on them. In fact, please provide your own idea to your current Tron super representative. Level the playing field. Okay, here's where I'm going to be ultra blunt. I am sure I'll get some heat for what I'm about to say, but that's fine. That's the only way that things will get fixed. We need discussion and involvement from the community. I think it is time to force engagement from both the community as well as Tron itself. Looking the other way is kind of like waiting for a hurricane to hit without putting up your shutters. It all looks nice and dandy outside until it's too late and your roof finds another home. We all know that this system currently favors the whales. It's that plain and simple. If a whale can come in and buy their super representative position, is there really anything else I need to say to prove my point? This is the root cause why community super representatives are now forced to give 100% just to remain alive. Like I said, pretty soon the community representatives, which are the ones working on a daily basis to educate the public, create dApps for the network, and give Tron back, and market the hell out of Tron, will soon be gone. If that's what Tron wants, then let the party continue. It will happen. The writing is on the wall. I find it funny when super representatives state that other super representatives shouldn't be giving 100% rewards, as if those super representatives are creating the problem. Do they actually think we like to give the house away? That's not the root cause of the issue. That is a consequence of the root cause. Just a week ago, after the whales applied their pressure, we had an emergency meeting to discuss rewards based on super representative rankings and seeing who were the players at 28 and 29 and the players between 23 and 27. I knew a domino effect was coming. That is why we decided to increase our rewards to 100% in anticipation of this event that surely did take place as expected. Unfortunately, rewards are like interest rates for the Federal Reserve. That is the only tool we have that has immediate impact, and just like current interest rates, we can't go any further. Is this a possible solution? Based on the root cause that has been identified, here's what I'm thinking will get us closer to a solution in terms of rewards. I do think that they are important in order to keep the community involved, so I would not remove rewards altogether. But I do believe that every super representative should pay out to the community the same percentage. Yes, I said every super representative, that includes whales. The initial problem here is that the whole super representatives will just pay themselves. So how about if requirements are implemented where a super representative that has less than 250,000 Tron voters, I think 250,000 Tron voters, has the deposit 70% of the rewards or whatever percentage is agreed upon into a third-party fund, which then gets distributed to super representative candidates. This will incentivize more nodes on the Tron network. Will the whales not want to help out on the Tron network? Let's find out. Most community super representatives easily have that many voters who hold that minimum requirement. We can also create a system where the 27 super representatives can audit each other. Blockchain transactions are pretty easy to follow nowadays. If a super representative feels someone is gaming the system, show the proof and we can all vote for removal, fine, or suspension. This also disincentivizes whales from monetizing their super representative position. By the way, exchanges should not be allowed to be super representatives. They can possibly be voting with their clients' funds, but I'll leave that for another day. With that said, if I go missing, you know where to start looking. Community needs to act. Okay, everything that I mentioned is by no means conclusive. Tron super representatives need the community to step in and get involved in this serious topic. How can you help? Community members need to tweet and share this in order to raise awareness so that everyone, including the Tron Foundation, can take the necessary actions to resolve these issues. The future of Tron is at stake. We all need for the community to vote. That is very important. This is how Tron becomes a premier blockchain in the world. Feel free to reach out to your Tron super representative and provide your point of view. I am sure all community super representatives will be eager to see what ideas you can bring to the table. This is the whole point of being a super representative. We are here to listen to the community and to act in their best interest. And we feel that having community representation is definitely the best interest of a delegated proof of stake platform like Tron. After reading this article, by the way, I will be, when I am a Tron buyer, holder, hodler, whatever, I will be voting for Tron Spark as a super representative because this is clearly focused on helping the community. I don't agree with everything that is said here. I don't know there is a perfect way to do this. That's kind of the challenge of the super delegated system. You kind of risk centralization and you decrease decentralization. It's one of the reasons why Ethereum is actually slow. Today, Tron is super fast because of the super delegates. So we'll see what goes on with super representatives, as they call it. We'll see where this goes. I'd love to know your thoughts on this whole platform. I mean, granted, clearly there's a risk of centralization here. And this is the risk of all of cryptocurrency, because what happens is people find a way to ultimately game the system. And, you know, and unfortunately, consumers, myself included, will oftentimes vote for convenience. We give authority to centralization out of convenience. There's a reason most of us, for example, don't use the Tor browser. If you're familiar with the Tor browser, it's a privacy browser basically that helps, you know, to hide your identity from the online companies like Google and Facebook who want to give away all of your personal information. The problem with the Tor browser is it's extremely slow. It's not as efficient compared to, you know, your Chrome browser or even your CryptoTab browser. So that's part of the challenge with the challenge is decentralization has to scale to the decentralized services have to be able to scale technologically to the point that they can be as efficient as centralized services. But for now, Tron is faster than Ethereum. It's far faster than Ethereum. It's faster than every other cryptocurrency. It makes usability super awesome, and it's still on a public blockchain, and it is still, for the most part, decentralization. But this article points out the potential for abuse. Let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments. Please hit that like button if you like this video. Subscribe to my channel as I continue to learn and discuss Tron. And by all means, if you want to know how to make passive cryptocurrency, start by watching the video playlist at the end of this channel. Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.